Hello and welcome to Do the Right Thing. I'm Matthias.
And I'm Jarvis.
Jarvis and I are aspiring writers who do not write enough.
Yeah, so we're doing a challenge. Every week we set a timer for 30 minutes. Our goal is to write a complete short story using 3 randomly generated words.
Then we come on the podcast, we read the stories that we wrote, we talk about what we've learned in writing them, and then we talk about you, listener-submitted stories. That's what you are. You are a listener-submitted story.
Yes. We're simply here to help you.
Silence your cell phone, Jarvis.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To help you do the right thing.
We're simply here to help you do the right thing.
A Doof Media Network media podcast.
That's not our tagline.
It's Do the Right Thing, a Doof Media podcast, a Doof Media production.
A Doof cast.
We're actually the Doofcast part 2.
Yeah, exactly. We have taken over Matt's body.
Oh. And Scott is...
our feet.
I don't like this.
And you are the left arm, I'm the right arm.
Oh, so we're...
forming Voltron.
Okay. This week we do not have a guest. We're going... Next week, we're definitely going to have a guest.
Most
100%.
definitely. It's just been a little difficult trying to schedule people because we switched up how when we record and upload and
people,
all that.
You know, classes and stuff.
Classes, work, falling through, yeah.
I gotta email my lawyer friend. I got a lawyer friend who wrote The Internet as a Fantasy World. He's writing that story, and I want to have him on so we can talk about
How
that.
good is he?
Very.
As a lawyer?
As a lawyer, he's just started. He just graduated like last year.
Okay.
But I'm sure he's awesome at it.
Okay. Has he seen Suits?
That's probably a required viewing. I'm pretty sure, like, to pass the bar, like they ask like trivia questions
for
Suits.
Yeah. Well, then if he's seen Suits, then he should be fine.
Yeah, he should be fine. He's in New York, the second district in New York, something like that. I don't know.
Oh, 2nd Street.
He's on 2nd Street. So this week, this week's words were false, useless, wicked, and
Acrid.
Yeah, so that was a very negative roll of words. That's the first thing I noticed.
Quite negative.
When did you write your story? And let's not talk about the stories at all or how we use the words. But just like how have our weeks been, Jarvis?
Oh yeah, so my week has been pretty back to back. Had some things due, a lot of work.
Yeah,
did a lot of doubles. Which I like the money. So I can't complain.
I do appreciate being able to pay my rent. Yeah. I do appreciate not being evicted on the daily.
Honestly, being able to go to the store and like actually buy things, fantastic feeling. But with all that being said, I attempted these words, I kid you not, 4 times.
Oh, wow.
With 4 different stories. Because this week I was, of course, trying to do a more upbeat type deal.
Yes, you finally followed my challenge and tried to write a happy story. I'm so glad, especially because I pleaded with you last episode. like I went back and listened, and I sounded sad and also mad at you. I was on fun re-listening to it. I was like, "Are people gonna think that we don't like each other or something?" Because it sounded like I was really
so
mad.
Angry. No, you support so hard that it comes off as anger. But you're like, Jarvis, you could be so much better!
I see your potential. So that was difficult for you?
Yeah, it was difficult. I mean, mostly because I had a couple of ideas that I really wanted to write out, because I haven't really been able to write outside of doing the right thing in quite some time. So I just went through some of those, and none of them really felt right. None of them were really that fleshed out. So I landed on this one, which I think is a nice little medium. I enjoyed writing this one. So
well, good. I'm really glad that it worked out for you. I'm also getting very, very busy.
Yeah.
Announcement. I had to keep it secret last time, but I'm the editor-in-chief of my university's literary magazine, and that's exciting. I made my first misstep. Stressful mess up.
You killed someone?
No, basically I announced an event before I made any plans on how to actually make it happen.
Oh.
And so my advisor was like, your email was really well written, but do you have anything planned? And I was like, no.
What was the event that you...
Oh, just our first meeting, basically.
Oh, okay.
I also promised pizza when we made no I don't even know how.
You're gonna have to buy that pizza.
I had no idea how to use the organization money, so I just made a bunch of promises without any
that you
idea.
cannot keep.
Well, we are gonna keep them, but it's stressful to have to fix it. And I forgot I have a book report due tomorrow, and I haven't opened the book. It's 400-ish pages. So
well, you got Spark Notes. You have Thug Notes.
It's not that kind of. It's not a novel. It's a historical. I don't know what to call. Actually, what do you call history books? It's not like a
historical text.
No. It's called The Peaches of Samarkand, and it's basically a historical, I guess, history of Samarkand, which is a country along the Silk Road that was very powerful for a long time, or really significant for a long time.
Wikipedia. You have National Geographic, the History Channel.
I'm gonna skip through the book really, really hard, and stay up real late writing that report. But that's fine. So
late nights all around.
Late nights all around. So that's my life. Just adapting to this new level of
stress
of stuff to do constantly. On the other hand, I got a bunch of plants, so that's gonna help.
Yes.
Except I got a bunch of succulents, right, which are the very. My goal is to have an alien garden, but they go dormant over the winter. A lot of them, which is, I want to see them grow, and every day, include like when I wake up I look at them, and when at night I look at them, and you can't tell the difference between plants during that time, especially when they're slow growing because winter. Anyway, the point is, I'm looking forward to the plants growing, but they're not growing that fast. Anyway, let's go into the community stuff.
Yeah, Doof is doing fantastic. We finally made our first $1 million.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
Yeah,
we can finally all afford Lamborghinis.
And also, it was from one person donating. Apparently, I don't know how we found out about this, but Donald J. Trump really likes Do the Right Thing. He's been writing along with us every single last week. His Reddit handle is actually JD Lister. So
I'm quitting the podcast. I'm rubbing my temples right now. I don't. Let's okay, community talk. So this week we had 15 stories, I think. Yes. 15 stories. And I was, again, I know I say this literally every single week. I say this part every single week also.
Yes.
But blown away by the quality of the stories. Like, there was counting them in my head, at least six specific stories that I wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I can only pick one. And also, we only talk about 5 total. Mm-hmm. So there was no way I was going to be happy.
Well, you're also never happy.
Oh, that aside. I'm really glad with the ones that were rolled, but I really wish I could talk about every single one. Especially these new people coming in and throwing some amazing stories.
I feel every week we maybe gain 1 to possibly 2 new writers, or at least recently. And they're coming in hard, swinging for the fences. It's amazing.
For the fences?
Yeah.
Is that the saying?
Yes, it is.
Sometimes, Jarvis, you say sayings that don't exist. And I roll with them usually, but sometimes they just don't work.
But the thing is, right, I would say, like, if I say 10 different sayings, chances are 7 to 8 of them are great. You think you have a 70 to 80% success rate with your made-up sayings. 5 to 6 of them were great.
Also this week, Wildbow wrote a story, and we're going to talk about his story, so I'm really excited at that. It's really gross. It's really good.
It's very wet.
The only other shout-out I'm going to do is Stuck in Reddit Factories, because it's really funny, so read that one. But we're not going to talk about it in depth, but
because also we don't like laughing.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore. Yeah, too many noise complaints from my neighbors.
Yeah, because we're just so boisterous.
Boisterous, yeah. That's what the ticket said.
A couple of boisterous boys.
Yeah, I've got a warrant out for my arrest.
Oh, for being too boisterous.
Yeah, the only description they have is about my laughter, though. So it's actually an audio file.
Oh, so it's like
like the warrant is an audio file. It's not a paper. It is signed by a judge, though. All right, so let's get into the stories. Do we have any other community stuff we need to talk about?
No, we do not.
Okay, Jarvis, let's talk about your story.
My story.
Look at this. We're actually on pace. Only 15 minutes in, and we're getting to your story.
Yeah,
come on. We're
swinging for the fences.
We're getting through. What's your story called?
I don't know. Oh, my story is called Tricked. I think.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Tricked or treated, because it's a Hallows Eve story.
It is a Hallows Eve story.
I mean, that's a little bit spoilers, but also the title's Tricked. So that, like, immediately when I read that,
also, it's not. I wouldn't call it spoilers because, like,
it's
halfway through the first couple of paragraphs.
It's not a twist that it's Halloween.
Yeah.
It is Halloween.
It is Halloween.
That's just the
Hallows
setting.
Eve. Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about it. I'm glad that you did a happy story, but also, Jarvis, how long is this?
So if we're looking at Google Docs, okay, it's topping off at about 6 pages.
That's at the default Google Docs formatting.
Which means
Arial,
the last time I checked, it was
single space
1,987 words.
Okay, so just under 2,000 words.
Just under 2,000 words.
The last time, the last story that came close was about a 2,000 word story, and it was, I mean, for Do the Right Thing, obviously I've written longer stories, but for Do the Right Thing was the surfer one. It was the surfing one.
Yeah.
With the wave. One of the words was wave. So that one was too long. So we'll see how this one goes.
This one's going to be super long. I think going into it, there's not really much to say. I can talk about, like, a lot of the ideas I had going into this. I will talk about after I actually read it.
Okay.
So,
without further ado, let's jump into Jarvis' story.
So the title of my story is Tricked. In a cluster of scarily-like houses, just a small stroll from Westchester Lighthouse, stands a small, smoky shack, done up in such a way to separate it from the fray. Inside, it's dim to the point of possibly being vacant. Dim in a way that's almost fitting for its low-budget, rough-in-it residents. Instead of lamps and nat light, the homeowners decided to string Christmas lights along every wall, nook, and cranny. The furniture is crummy, older than the residents themselves, but homey nonetheless. The only light that's always on is the kitchen light, a warm tungsten that shines over the caramel wooden table. Thwack! The coffee-stained packet slapped on the center of the table, almost spilling over Shade's drink. This year we're gonna fuck Mr. Johnson in the ass. Whoa, I don't want to do that, Trey said, surprisingly caught off guard by Anna. Shades and Felicia had a similar reaction, but expected nothing more. Trey is a sort of do-goodery pretty boy type with the tendency to be quite a bit depressing. Not by his own fault, though. He's been starving for his art longer than he expected. Walked his beachside town through and through to the point that the night lights don't glisten how they should. He's happy in these moments. Surrounded by crazy Anna, smooth Shades, and his maiden squeeze, Felicia. Apprehensive but ready for another Saturday. Anna shook her head. Towering above the others at the table, she was disappointed with the lack of gusto she's used to. She looked tired, hair frizzier than usual, and 1,000 bags under the eyes. Even her freckles seemed tired, a little paler than usual. Are you not angry? Why would we be angry at some 60-something with Alzheimer's? Felicia said, tapping out her cig. Soon as the smoke lessens, she whips out a fresh pack from the arm pocket of her jacket. 'Cause he fucked us in the ass last Halloween. Without moving a muscle, Shades spoke up. That didn't happen. Unless you know something we don't, Trey broke a smile, taking a much-needed swig of mysterious liquor Shades brought. No, he wronged us. Set us up, duped us, tricked us, fucked us in our fucking asses. Stop saying that. Fucking someone in the ass doesn't have any similarities to what actually happened. All Homeboy did was just steal our candy. All he did? He took all our candy from 4 long hours of trick-or-treating. Well, it is trick or treat. We gave him the option. Felicia lit another one. Also, aren't we like 24? 24, 14, you don't steal candy from trick-or-treaters. It's like taking a handicapped person's car when they parked in a normal parking spot. Shade smiled. Happened to my mom once. Oh, wicked. How? Was halfway on the sidewalk. Come on, guys, listen. Mr. Johnson has been having health problems. Coughs a lot, maybe cancer. Heard his daughter went to jail for robbery. And his wife passed a month ago. This is our last chance to get his ass. What's with you and ass, Anna? What's with you wanting to sex Felicia? Everyone fell silent. Trey, shocked, holding a little worried, come on now, smile. Felicia, on the other hand, just smoked away. We all know Will agreed, so what's the plan, Anna? If we hit him at midnight, we'd rake in his spoils from the entire Hallows Eve. Do you know how much candy that is? A fuck ton. Got the shock alone would kill him. Anna was giddy with anticipation. Sarcastic as ever, Shades reached for the packet. Yay, let's kill a old man with cancer. That'll be good, right? Morally? Fuck a moral, babe. Guys, we need a win. Felicia shrugged. I could go for a win. Let's put it to a vote. I'm a no. Yeah, why the fuck not? I'm with Anna. Thanks, babe. Anna leaned over and gave him a peck. Aw, no fair, y'all are fucking. We need a recount. It'll still be 2-1. The night of Hallows Eve was chalking up to be a good one. Kids walked up and down the streets dressed as the Joker and Harley Quinn. Some people went into the night as a joke. A vape pen or an over-egged, exaggerated, but still not funny Fortnite character. With all the festivities and spooks in the air, you'd wonder why the 4 roommates dressed quite normal. Trey in black jeans and a Steve Jobs turtleneck. Anna dressed as a French robber, big black bag and all. Felicia always went against the grain, dared to be different, so she changed nothing. Hasn't done a single thing since their meeting earlier this morning. Just sat and scrolled away, taking an endless torrent of beers and cigs with her. To everyone's surprise, though, Shades didn't wear his signature Hawaiian shirt. Instead, he broke out a black and gold paisley button-down and a flashy watch he definitely didn't pay money for. As they walked through the crowds of Eastside Westchester and down by the docks, the joyful babble and fun-filled screams of the night lessened, and so did the festivities. When they got right outside Mr. Johnson's home, everyone was gone. No sound to speak of beyond the crickets and stray dogs. The house was on its last legs. In an almost planned attack by the trees and vines, the house has been overtaken by the land, splintering into the roof and foundation, latching on to the pale wood and forcing its way into ajar windows and rat holes. The only sign of life for miles was a dim, flickering light from inside the living room of the house. But the frosted windows muddied the source, causing the dim light to only shine a few feet from itself. Y'all know how to climb? Anna said, kneeling by the decrepit front gate as if there's any real danger in getting caught. Felicia walked up past Anna and the boys, through the old gate and halfway to the door. She stopped and looked around. Everyone else watching like she was behind enemy lines. Eventually, after looking past the thick woods round them, she waved the others over, stepped up to the door with them. As soon as they got there, Felicia held out a hand, looked her friends over. Trey climbed the tree and into the bathroom. Why do I have to do it? Because you're skinnier than me, Anna said, slapping his shoulder. Trey tried taking it like a man, but still winced at the sting. I've been trying to gain weight. Text you when he's at the door. You go in with Anna's sack. Ha! Stop. You go in with Anna's sack, come down to the living room and grab the candy. We'll distract as long as you need. Just don't fuck up and we'll be swimming in. The click of 1,000 latches puts the fear of God in all of them but Felicia. The great wooden door swings open, revealing a dried-up old raisin wearing glasses and sporadic spurts of peach fuzz. Anna was right to say he let himself go. Just last year, he was walking upright, had a smile to show, and seemed, alive. Mr. Johnson now is half the height. He was wheeling an oxygen tank with him, and sported a still-burning cig behind the ear. What y'all doing here? Mr. Johnson was pretty flimmy, wobbled in place. Not like a drunk wobble, but a one gust of wind would whisk me away wobble. Anna, Shades, and Trey looked at each other, panic in their eyes. Felicia, however, stood steady, cracked a smile at the old man. Hello, sir. Mr. Johnson, right? What I want? We're here about the roof damage on your second floor. You mind if we come in and take a look? Mr. Johnson licked his gums. Lazy eye looking from Shades to Trey to Anna's costume to the confident woman that reminded him of a woman he met back in Vietnam. What the fuck not? The tiny man stepped aside. The four stepped in after him. Books upon books lined the home in piles and stacks and shelves and bins. There were so many books, it would be to no one's surprise if the whole library just decided to move in. Clean, for an old man and for them. Shelves and ceiling fans dusted and polished. No clothes or old butts anywhere. The only thing that was off about the house was the altar. Set up on a kitchen island, candles burn red and purple surrounding a pile of aged candy. In front of it is an old locked book that sat on a seemingly used cheesecloth. The first to see it was Trey. Though not the brightest, he put two and two together. Mr. Johnson, you read a lot? Yeah, I read. Been studying alchemy ever since the 80s. Mr. Johnson plopped on the couch, finding the remote and switching it on. Go on, do what you do. He waved them off. Felicia leading the group upstairs and into the second bathroom. Mr. Johnson watched them grow, a rusty smile spreading across his lips. Then the candles went out. Light still coming from the altar, but not from the fire, but from the candy. A red glow from deep within the pile shined through, pulsating ever so slightly. With more energy than the world has ever seen, Mr. Johnson hopped up from the couch and scooted over to the kitchen. As soon as he set foot near the altar, the light intensified. A slight gust picking up throughout the house. It's time. His tiny hands opened the book in front of the altar and pricked his finger with one of those diabetes testers he kept around. A single drop hit the page and words revealed themselves. Words ancient and cursed. Words no modern tongue could speak or act to muster. Besides Mr. Johnson. As if his first language, he mouths the words, finishing every paragraph with, "Take me to her." At the end, he closed the book and tossed it in the center of the candy. It grew round it. Strings of nerds and crunch bars grew around the book, pulling it open to page 231. A hole. filled with colors meshing and morphing in and out of each other. The whole grew, enveloping the page and the candy. Mr. Johnson cried, eyes red, mouth open as if he heard the words of God. So the whole swallowed him too. Then the kitchen, living room, the 4 thieves, and even the house, enveloped in color. Then nothing. The whole left behind a blank plot of land between trees and vines. The sky was bright and shining. The second bathroom in Mr. Johnson's house unchanged except for the 4 roommates hatching the scheme of the century. Can we just go? We're already fucking here, T. Let's just run down the stairs and book it. You saw him. He could barely make it to the porch. Or we get Trey to hide out downstairs. We lure him up here, give him a false sense of security. Trey nabs the candy on the weird counter, leaves, and we make up some excuse about needing more glue or something. You don't fix a roof with glue. That'd be useless. The 3 go at it, being not so quiet about it. Shades, on the other hand, looked out the window, not sure about what he saw. Guys, is that a pumpkin man doing the splits? The argument died down as they all walked up to the window. And it was just that. Far off into a meadow, a 7, maybe 8 foot tall wooden man with the head of a jack-o'-lantern was breakdancing like it never went out of style. The creature was surrounded by other wooden-like people, each one with either a potted plant or a TV set as a head, clapping and jamming along with them. Behind them all, a few miles out, was a collection of castles and church-like buildings that intertwined with each other. Above, 4 blimps circled the city, all donning a small welcoming. Welcome to All Hallows Town.
Okay, all right. Wonderful story. Thank you so much for reading it, Jarvis.
Thank you for allowing me to read it, Matthias.
You're so very welcome. It's suddenly hot in here.
It's very hot, yes. Anyway.
Yeah, if you notice the background noises of wind and can you hear the birds and the sunshine? That's because I opened the doors because it's good weather for the first time in Texas in many moons.
Yeah, it's actually cold, which is amazing.
Well, it was like 60 this morning, and that was cold. And now it's like 70 something.
Yesterday was colder, but
anyway, wonderful story. It was long.
It was long.
That's the first thing I noticed.
Okay.
It's not sad, as usual.
It's not sad.
So that's a really good progress. I'm really happy about that. At some point, we probably my next challenge is gonna have you write a story without anyone smoking in it. But
that's impossible. That's too. I mean, okay. Yes, I can definitely do it because I don't make a active choice, and I think that's what the problem is. When I'm writing, it's not a. Well, I guess it kind of is. I don't know. Either way, there's a possibility that I could do that. Yeah. But for the characters that do smoke in this story, I think it's well placed.
It works. So one thing so where did this idea come from? It kind of has 2 parts to it, basically. Mm-hmm. It has it has 2 parts in structure, but I mean in like what the story's about. The first half, right, is about the characters getting together, and then you have this wonderful, strange twist of going to Halloween Town.
Hallows Eve Town. Thank you.
With a skeleton man breakdancing.
Yes.
So, my question here is, what's up with that?
So, stepping all the way back, these characters are parts of this thing that I've been wanting to write for like years. So, let me just tell you about my biggest dream. Now, okay. And my biggest dream is that once I graduate college, I'm going to rent or buy a van.
Okay.
I'm going to drive down to the coast somewhere.
Okay.
I'm going to find the best taco spot in that entire city. I'm going to buy tacos from that place. A lot of tacos.
Okay.
And then I'm going to pull my van up to the beach. So it's looking over the ocean. And then I'm going to go sleep. And then the next day I'm going to wake up. I'm going to eat those tacos. And I'm going to go outside. I'll see the sun rising above the water in such beautiful grandeur. And I'm going to climb on top of that van.
Right.
Open up the tacos, take a journal, and start writing. And I'm going to write a story for this thing that I call Beachside, which is very much so like a...
Part 2 of the very long explanation.
Yeah, I mean, Beachside is a very slice of life, coming of age story where there's a lot of fun, there's a lot of enjoyment, it's very snappy. And these characters are the main characters of Beachside. So there's like a offshoot of that.
But the only way you're going to write the story is if you go rent a van, journey down to the beach, purchase a lot of tacos, bring that van to the beach, go on top of the van with the tacos, eat the tacos, and write the story right there on your journal.
Yes. That's the only way.
Okay.
That's the only way this will ever work, I feel. Because I need that, that energy flowing through me. But this story came from me not being there, but me still wanting to work on this idea. And this, like, fits... between, I guess, I don't know, season 2 and 3. I guess that's the best.
Oh, you already have...
I planned everything out, Matthias. Okay. But yes, between season 2 and 3. And, I don't know. I think the line that really, made this story what it was is that for some reason I woke up with the phrase... we're gonna fuck Mr. Johnson in the ass.
Yeah. That's where I wanted to talk about, because that's a very. I laughed when I first read that line. It does set the tone pretty strongly, right? You have your more. I don't want to say typical because it has negative connotations, but your usual tone in your first paragraph, and you kind of break it by having the characters say, "This year we're gonna fuck Mr. Johnson in the ass," which is a very it's evocative. It really tells us what the story is going to be about. And it does, it has a lot of that teens pulling pranks kind of thing. They feel a little very adulty to be doing stuff like this.
They are 24 years old.
Yeah, which seems probably that they shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah,
But, no, I really like the camaraderie that they have with each other. There's a couple of points where you lose some of the dialogue tags, and I lost a little bit of who exactly was talking.
Yeah.
But if I was maybe more emotionally invested, in reading, then maybe I would have picked those up, because I read it a little bit in a rush. I really like that opening conversation of you establishing these different characters' personalities, though. So
yeah, thank you. I think that was the thing that was most concerned about, because having to do 4 different characters with making those voices as different as you possibly can, but also fitting who they are, and just coming up with the tags and where to put them and where not to put them, and if it's too much, if it's too little, is something that I've always kind of struggled with. So
my advice, as someone who doesn't actually know what he's doing either, maybe try introducing 2 characters together at once before you introduce the 3rd and 4th, or maybe I think 3 characters is probably pretty doable. But it's when you get to 4 where it gets pretty hard to keep track.
Okay.
I think. So if you establish 2 first and then another 2, maybe they could all be in the same room, maybe only 2 are talking or something.
Okay.
And then you introduce another person in how they differ in personality from the others. The Anna being really gung-ho about... she's very distinctive, right? She's the most distinctive of all of them because she's the one with the motivation and a drive right here.
Yeah.
While the others, they kind of blend a little bit more. Yeah. Although, who's the cool one? I don't remember. Is it Shades or Felicia?
The cool, what do you mean by cool?
The cool, calm, collected one.
The one that doesn't talk that much?
Yes.
Shades.
It's Shades, okay. Yes. Yeah, that one was a little bit more distinctive as well. But then it's the other ones that weren't so much.
Yeah, and I think that that honestly comes from me having a solid idea of who Felicia is, who Shades is, and who Anna is, but not really sure who Trey is.
Right.
I definitely see Trey as main character type, but
in the anime way where they're not interesting.
Just
standard protagonist.
I don't want to do that. That's stealing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't know, it's definitely something that I want to work on, but I'm also glad that I got the opportunity to work on it now. So
okay, so I like the introduction of the magical portal thing. As soon as we saw the altar, I knew something was going to happen, but it didn't quite fit the tone. I feel like it felt like a little. I feel like you could have added some hints about. I don't know, he's like a weird guy, like Mr. Johnson, like, or we don't know how he stole the candy. I still don't know how he did that. Like, it just disappeared. I knew I was holding it. Like, I feel like that there was some opportunities that you could slip that in there. When you were writing it, did you know that they were going to teleport into All Hallows Eve town?
So, when I was writing it, I was thinking, what if the characters of Beatside had a magical adventure? Uh-huh. And I was thinking, it's Halloween. I love Halloween Town. What if they go to like a Halloween Town city? Right? Okay. So I didn't know that was going to be the end goal. I think because I know at first stepping back, there are two paths I wanted to go down because I want to write with these characters next week. Okay. And the week after that, I'll write with them for the whole month of October. Okay, sure. But one path was going to be that they do go to this Halloween Town type place and they have to figure out how to get back. But the other path, which was actually a kind of a darker path, is that they show up and then Mr. Johnson has a heart attack as they're in there, and then they're like, well, we can just leave. But then Anna's like, oh, I posted all over social media saying we were going to fuck Mr. Johnson in the ass, and now he's dead.
Oh my god.
So then they have to go on the run, basically.
Okay. I will say neither of those are the way that I expected it to go, given the first half of the story. And yeah, when they were going there, I thought for sure that they would like they would go there and then they would talk to Mr. Johnson and they would like learn a lesson or something like that.
I was also thinking that.
And Mr. Johnson would catch them, he'd laugh and be like, "Oh, you could have the candy back. I only took it because you were trick-or-treating as 24 years old."
and it's weird.
And then Trey's like, "Yeah, that's fair." That's where I thought it was going to go. Not that it has to go that way.
I mean, these are all options, possibilities.
Yeah, these are all options and possibilities. That's absolutely correct. Yeah, so at the teleportation at the end was a little... I almost wonder, like, what if you just stop the story when they first get teleported? Like, don't show us what's on the other side. Yeah. Just have them go into the candy portal and like, what if we end at then nothing, the whole left leaving a blank plot of land between trees and vines. Like, just cut it right there.
Honestly, I was going to cut it at first, but then I realized, like, what's on
the other side?
Yeah, because I know for me, I wasn't totally sure what the other side was going to look like, so I just wanted to like write that out. But I feel that story wise, and also like opening up a lot more possibilities for me next week. Because to be honest, I don't even know if I want to write about Halloween City. I might just switch that.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no reason why they have to be if you're writing successive entries for Do the Right Thing, there's no reason that you can't retroactively change things.
Exactly.
Like each one can be independent. It doesn't matter. Literally, someone could write the same story 5 times with different words, and that would be a valid way to do the right thing.
Exactly. So there is that possibility, but yeah, I think it probably would have been a lot better there because I feel my description of what was happening on the other side was too short for trying to portray this like other world, and it wasn't really as vivid as I wanted it to.
It felt a little silly.
Yeah, it's silly, rushed.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, that's it's a 30-minute timer. Yeah. So I get it, but yeah, I think next time try cutting it off earlier, or like write the thing and then evaluate. Do you really need it? And then cut it.
Yeah, I feel that's definitely something that I should start doing on the first draft instead of like on the like rewrite. Yeah. Because I know what I tend to do is just write all of it and then be like, all right, cool. And then in the rewrite, I do a lot of the smaller things. But I feel that reading it back through before I posted it, yeah, I'll find those little things. I feel the middle, for me, at least, is probably like the worst part of it, because I'm trying to transition from this block of dialogue from this meeting into like Halloween is happening.
I thought it worked. It worked for me, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't have that much trouble with it. It felt natural to me, so I think it succeeded.
Okay.
I mean, that's me. I don't know if someone else disagrees.
I see that.
All right, so if you were to rewrite the story, Jarvis, what would you change?
If I were to rewrite it, I would, honestly, I think I would cut the first paragraph.
Okay.
I would cut the first paragraph.
Start with, we're going to fuck Mr. Johnson in the ass.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a pretty evocative...
It's a strong start.
First sentence.
Yeah.
I do like, usually, a lot of times when people, have other characters curse a lot, it feels like it's trying too hard, you know? But in this, it worked because they were immature... young adults, in which, and the other characters are really you don't have to say that. Just stop saying that. It's weird.
It's fucking someone in the ass doesn't have anything to do with stealing candy.
Yeah, so I at first I was like, Jarvis, come on, why are you starting it off like that? But then it worked out really well. So
cool. Yeah. So I think I would definitely start with that. It's where I'm strong at. And then I would add a lot more of the details of the town after they leave the meeting. I feel like during that section I can give a really grand overview of the town, where it is, what certain things feel like. I work with the dialogue.
I don't know if you really need that.
Yeah.
The town's history.
Because, not the history, but, the thing about it being right down the way from a lighthouse.
Okay, sure.
And, I don't know, those are things I could definitely cut, because the truth is not important to the story that I'm telling.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fluff that I like. Yeah. I like fluff. But, I would definitely go back and do that. I would want to look at a lot of the dialogue.
Sure.
Work out...
I wonder if you could just cut a character. How much would the story suffer if you cut Trey or Felicia? Or combine the two, really. Right.
That is a option. Or...
I'm not telling you to do it. What would happen if you did?
If I did, it would be different. I feel that the dynamic would be a little bit more off because how I see it, right? Trey does everything. He's the one that goes out and does his stuff. Mm-hmm. Felicia is bossy. She tells everyone what to do. Anna is crazy. She comes up with ideas. Shades is just there chilling.
I feel like from just that description, not really remembering the whole context, Anna and Felicia could be mixed into a crazy person that tells everyone what to do. Just think about it.
Possibly.
Or, alternatively, you can also just introducing characters one at a time, have a character not be in the room when this first starts, and then establish the argument, then the person walks in and be like, what's up? Anna wants to fuck Mr. Johnson in the ass. That's not what I meant, if that's what you said. Anyway, I can picture it.
That's true, yeah. Or, I think the thing that I really need to do, especially since I want to do more with this, is re-evaluate the character of Trey.
Okay.
And just
make them interesting?
Make it stronger.
Make it stronger, okay.
Whatever his ailment is, make it more interesting, make it stronger. Going forward past the whole character thing, I would want to do a little bit more description of Mr. Johnson, even though I think that it was ample of how I described him about what it... describe the inside of the house and all that jazz. But yeah, I think on a rewrite there are a lot of things that I can change.
Yeah,
should be fine. All
right, let's move into my section talking about me.
Cool.
This story I'm speeding along because we're already at an hour. I'm trying to remember what my story's called. I think it's called We Had To. And so I left an author's note. Okay, bird. I left an author's note when I first wrote the story. It says the story is really emo, and I apologize for that. And it is. I did the challenge that I wanted to actually face some emotions and actually do something, and I probably went a little bit too much. But it's all a learning experience, right? So
it also really depends on what you get out of it.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say, so I might as well just start.
Cool.
We had to. The door opened softly and someone crept in. The flicker of a candle and the breeze of cool air slithered along the floor to rest against my bed. The footsteps were soft and measured to not wake me. I heard a gentle knock of the candle being placed on the dresser, and I let myself smile slightly. "Wendy, is that you?" I whispered onto the other side of the pillow. I didn't turn my head, not that I could if I wanted to. I was still so weak. She probably came to join me in bed. The footsteps stopped suddenly. I could feel them standing there just a few feet from the bed. I decided it was worth the effort, and I strained with all my might to roll my neck and move my head to the other side to see her. My neck spasmed and seized with emotion, but I rolled over. I could see the candle flickering to one side of her, and she was hunched over herself. I could just make out her face, wrought in yellow and red. Her mouth was open, and her eyes were wide, though I couldn't see her pupils, only the whites. My smile faded. "What's wrong?" And I could feel worry sinking into my voice. I tried to keep calm for her. "Hey, it's okay. Did something happen?" She shook her head violently, and her hair settled in a way where I couldn't see her face. She wrapped her arms tight around herself. "You weren't supposed to be awake." "You didn't wake me. I've been awake all night. Nerve pain in my arms, that's all. Not you. It was me. It's okay." Again she shook her head violently. "I'm a wicked girl," she said. "Wicked girl." Her fingernails bit into the flesh of her arms. The skin went pale, and then red swelled and blood oozed around the half-moon imprints. She was sobbing, each word stolen away from her breath in a whisper. "Wicked girl. Wicked girl." "Wendy, please stop." "It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong," I said, and panic hitched into my tone. I hated when she got like this, when I couldn't do anything, couldn't even stop the worry and panic from setting her even worse. I tried to raise my arms from the bed, but I couldn't. They were useless, weak. "Please, Wendy, listen to me. Will you listen to me?" "Wicked. Wicked," Wendy spit. She was hunched over herself, back to the wall, too far from the bed for me to reach even if I could raise my arms up. The candle flickered in the dark, drawing Wendy's shadow out long and monstrous along the opposite wall. God damn it, I couldn't do anything at all. Tears bubbled to my eyes. "Please, Wendy, stop this. Talk to me. You didn't do anything. It's okay." A bark of laughter escaped her between her hitching breaths. "Do you even know what I was going to do?" she whispered. At least she was talking. "No, but it can't be as bad as you're making it out to be. Stop doing that to your arms, please." She let go of her arms and looked at her hands. For a moment there was only the sounds of hard breathing, the candle flickering, and a steady drip of the beads of blood dripping down her arms, off her hands, and onto the floor. Wendy's hands were shaking, but only slightly. She was putting her hands in her pockets when I spoke again. "There, it's okay, see? I'm here. You haven't done anything. Tell me what's wrong. You can be calm about it." "I brought this," Wendy said. She pulled her hand out of her pocket. The thing in her hand glinted. My blood rushed cold. "Is that..." "Wendy, that's a knife." I couldn't see her face, covered by her hair. She nodded. As her hands shook, the metal from the blade, a kitchen knife, reflected the candlelight and sent a flicker of light dancing around the walls. "You can put it down, Wendy. I don't want you to hurt yourself," I said, my voice as calm as possible. It would be so easy to just hold her and let her cry it out, but no. My body was useless, and the only thing I could use was my voice, but she was so far, and even that was useless if she wouldn't listen. "Not going to hurt myself," she mumbled. "Why'd you bring the knife, baby?" She shook her head. "Not for me. I need you to put it down, okay? Was for you," she let out. The knife tumbled from her fingers and clattered to the wooden floor. Her hands went to her hair and gripped it in tufts. She was breathing hard. She'd brought the knife for me? You brought it to kill me, I said. She couldn't hear me over her crying, and I knew that, but I just kept talking. "You brought it to end my useless fucking life." I could see her now, her eyes bloodshot red, rivers of tears flowing down both sides of her face. I could see her expression, despair and shame. When she spoke, her mouth stretched with spit, and her voice was caked with mucus and was wet. "I just can't take it. I can't take it." She shut her eyes and shook her head. "All those times," my voice broke. "You said you loved me, that would be forever. They were false, weren't they? They were lies. We don't deserve this," she moaned. "I can't do this anymore. You hate it. I can't." "Just kill me then," I said, twice as loud as I thought it would be. I want to die every day. Just do it. You won't let me die, but now you've brought the knife, so do it. I can't. I fucking hated my body. I reached out with all my strength, wanting something to break as it did, but I was so fucking weak. My arms rolled across the bed, one falling off the side, and all I could do was swing it. Shocks of nervous pain bit up my arm. Pain, but not in a satisfying way, not in the way that would wake me. I wanted to scream, to bite and tear at something, to just shake my head like a mad dog, but I was slow and broken and disabled. I'm so sorry, she said, and I could tell she'd broken another level down. She was so broken. She didn't deserve this. She didn't deserve to have this useless sack of meat and despair chained to her, but she couldn't do it either. Couldn't cut herself free and have that on her conscience. I'm so sorry. I can't. I'm so sorry. And the anchor was gone, burst like a bubble on a brisk day. The tears flowed again, gathering in my eyes, swelling, until finally breaking and flowing down my cheeks, where I was helpless to wipe them away. I know, I said. I know. It's not your fault. I know. Please hold me. Please. She nodded fiercely and threw herself around me, and she was pressed against me, and her weight on me was both painful and reassuring and necessary. She dug her arms around me, shifting me, and I did my best to wrap my arms around her too, but they were weak. But she noticed, and she grabbed them, and she put them around her back, and I grasped with all the strength I had, my fingers twisting the fabric. I know, I said. We'll get through this. It's not your fault. Her voice was in my ear, and it was heartbreakingly quiet. When will we ever get better? I had no idea. I don't know, but we'll try, okay? We'll get through this. We'll be okay. We have to. We have to. We had to.
I honestly really like it.
This is sad boy hours here.
Yeah. Well, I have a question, if you don't mind me asking. Where did the story come from?
No comment.
No comment? Okay.
No comment.
Well,
hold on.
I guess a secondary question.
Well, okay, so, okay, you can ask the secondary question.
So, I know when I read it, it didn't click, but I think when you read it, it clicked. Is the main character disabled, like not able to move and something?
Yeah, that's something that's not, I know it's not that clear, and it was in my mind as I wrote it the first time, and then I noticed it was barely in the story, and I went back and added more stuff. But yeah, they can't move like almost any part of their body, and that's something like the characters don't really talk about what the problems are, and I think that's something that holds it back. But yes, in my mind, it's basically like he's physically disabled and then she is mentally ill as well. Although I don't think her being mentally ill really comes across that much.
Okay, so now, as I said before, it's clicking a lot more.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, why does he think his life is useless?
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, he's depressed and he's suicidal and such. But now, having this new information, it makes a lot more sense and it makes the story all that better. Because I don't know, I really like, because like where it started, right? Mm-hmm. I had a strong feeling, oh, she was trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And a foreshadowing done, but it was set up in that way. I think the way that it went was actually really good.
Oh, thank you.
They talked about it. He was trying to be as supportive as possible while also knowing that he has this ailment. And then there's a certain sense of understanding that they both have for what actually happened. So yeah, I drastically enjoyed it for that fact.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so on where it comes from this idea of like people being like almost codependent and like not, there's no way to be morally free of each other, right? Because it's like the act of cutting away, like it's like Wendy in you know, I don't know how much this comes across in the story, but in my mind, it's not like she could just walk away, right? Because if she walked away, who would take care of him, right? And he doesn't want to be, you know, a burden, but, you know, it kind of ends up that way, and there's not really anything he can do on his end to really change that, and it's not like he can, you know, killing yourself is not the solution there either. That doesn't make people happier either. And so it was supposed to be kind of like a moment of insanity on Wendy's part of just like, I got to do something. but that's not actually a solution either. The doing something being killing him.
Yeah.
Because he's awake, and then she realized, oh yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's worse now.
It's worse now, because now he knows how bad it is. So I realize that a lot of the sentiments I'm talking about don't actually make it into the story, but that's what it's supposed to be about. So,
I feel that some of those things definitely did pick up. Setting up that the character is disabled without making it like too much, I feel is like a hard way to really juggle, and I think you did a pretty good job at it. Of course, if there were like a couple of more things that, like, how to disable.
Yeah.
Is it from waist down? You could say, like, well, you use the word weak, right?
Yeah.
And within this instance, that could be taken different ways.
Yeah.
It could be physically weak or emotionally weak, that he can't move because of the shock of what is happening. But I think when he did turn and he talked about nerve pain, I think that was a nice little subtle hint.
Yeah, I think it was a little... I'd agree that it's a little too subtle, but yeah, that's where it's supposed to be. Yeah. Probably actually knowing what his problem is would be good. Yeah, he just has to be taken care of. Generous Nat left a comment literally an hour after I posted it.
Okay.
So very, very quick. I actually want to give a quick shout out specifically to Generous Nat for leaving like a comment on almost every single story, if not every single story.
Definitely.
It's extremely impressive. Actually, we already did shout it out, Generous Nat, I think last week for that. But again,
great. Yeah.
It's very impressive.
It's heartwarming.
Yeah, so Generous...
to see that someone's putting so much time.
Yeah. We should all follow their example. Jarvis and I, who haven't written any comments.
Yeah. Commentless.
We got to get better. Oh my god.
Going back on...
the reason I bring them up is because Generous Nat talked about how they didn't believe the words, the dialogue in the middle, which I think they're referring to like the wicked girl part. So I want to I completely agree with that that sentiment. It's because I wrote that section first, and then I went back and added a lot of other stuff.
Okay.
Like I added in the door opening and like why are you in here, and her being sad, and wicked girl was like a remnant of an older thing. And
also on that point, I do know people who speak like that. So when I read it, I thought, oh, it's this kind of person.
Okay. Two things on that is that, like, I think it can still work.
Yeah.
But I think it needs a little bit more build-up. I think, like, just 2 more lines of dialogue that, like, get her to that point of, like, why does she just answer with, like, what's up? Girl. She just says, like, wicked girl. Like...
And I also feel if the story isn't being bogged down by the words... There are a lot of other phrases or other terms that can be used there that is a lot more impactful and not as... What's the word? There's some feeling that I get when I read and hear the word wicked. It's older, a feeling of like too much.
Okay, yeah.
Which I mean, in this story makes perfect sense, and I get it, and
it's not a subtle word at all.
I think it fits within this story, but for the tone that you're setting, seeing the word wicked definitely did bring me out just a little
I completely agree. One thing is that I don't know what the setting of this is. I have no idea what the time period is. The word wicked hints towards an older time period where more puritanical stuff, but he's also talking about nerve damage, so that might be later. So I think grounding it in one and then grounding it, committing to a time period would have helped, because I didn't. This is free floating in the time continuum. So that's one thing.
Going back on when I was talking to you at first, you said that this story was really edgy, and I honestly didn't feel the edge because I feel that all of the emotions that were happening was warranted.
I think I was not edgy, but emo.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. I mean, I feel that you are grasping at a idea that I would definitely want to see more of. Because I personally, I haven't really read or heard a story about, a partner trying to kill the other because of their disability. And I think that that's a really, there's a lot you can dig in. About obligation, about love, and how the love with someone can run out, but that love is also obligation in some sort of sense. And there's a lot that you can go into and dig with that.
It's an idea that I'm waiting to find other. Well, I'm searching for other ideas to make a whole story out of. Like there's gonna be something magical. Because I want to write a story with magic in it, right? I want to write a fantasy story. That's the kind of story I want to write. But this can. I'm thinking it might be a core conflict between two characters.
You can go the Full Metal route.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you want to quickly explain what you're talking about there?
So, there's this very great anime that you really should watch. It's called Full Metal Alchemist. You should watch Brotherhood.
Okay, no, hurry up.
Not the first one, but basically the entire crux of it is that these two brothers are trying to bring back their mother using alchemy, and when it comes to making anything else, there's a specific list of ingredients that are needed to actually make it.
Too much detail.
So they got all of the ingredients to make a person, but the thing is, they don't have the ingredients for a soul. So by doing this, one of the brothers loses their entire body, and then the other one loses a arm and a leg.
Literally,
a arm and a leg, and then the creature that is created from this isn't their mother whatsoever. So I say all that to say that I think that is a really great consequence to using that kind of magic.
Okay, I think you completely missed the point why you brought it up, that the brother doesn't have a body, and instead it is like a soul possessing a suit of armor. Yeah, basically.
Well, that's something that I could skip over.
No, well, that's the analogy, isn't it? That like they have to take care of each other because of like.
Oh, so, okay. See, that is. I was thinking something different. I was thinking of just using that to where like she loves him so much that she is trying to go this like dark magic type route to make it happen for him. But of course, with anything, there's an equal and opposite reaction. But that's another point about the bond that the brothers have, and you could use that in the bond that these two have, because there is love in both of them.
Okay. So let's bring it back a little bit. One thing I meant to talk about this earlier in talking about the story is while reading it, I don't know how well it carried across. I was trying to keep my tone a little neutral because I was a little uncomfortable to read, these lines in as much emotion as I want them to be read in, and especially some of them, especially Wicked Girl, I cannot pull that off right now. I'd have to really be in character to actually pull off an emotional Wicked Girl without feeling super self-conscious. So I'm hoping that these neutral tones, as I was reading it, still carried across the emotion well enough.
I mean your word choice and the overall flow of the piece definitely carries across that emotion, so I feel that for you to not go fully in character is fine, because the words that are on the page are good enough to carry that idea across.
Okay. All right. Well, if you send me your thoughts about that. Send us an email or mention it in the channel on Discord if you're on that.
Definitely.
Let me know how awful my reading was.
Really quick. If you had the opportunity to go over it, rewrite it, what are the specific things that you want to change about it?
I first set on a setting, set on what's wrong with both of them. What have they been struggling with recently? What is the thing that causes this also? And then I would just write it from start to finish with those things in mind. With her going in, him noticed first trying to calm her down, and we get connections to times that this has happened before, similar things. Knife tumbles down and he's like, what is that? And we escalate into she was gonna kill me and the complicated feelings about that before the ending.
I would also want to know why she feels so guilty. Of course guilty for trying to kill him, but I don't know, the way that I was reading it, it seemed like she felt she was at fault for his situation. I don't know if I was reading that right, but I think that could be a interesting route.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be she got in a car crash or something like that, but it could be to the point to where she isn't directly responsible, but
she hasn't fixed him and she feels bad about it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I didn't have that directly in mind, but that works.
Good. No.
Yeah, I think one thing is that they both feel very complicated about it. she feels incredibly guilty for even thinking of it, and she can't go through with it, but also, like, neither of them are happy in the situation, right? Neither of them want them to be dependent on each other, but they're kind of stuck that way.
Also, if you do have more time, of course, I would like to see what the day after would be.
Sure. Huh.
I wonder if these characters would go on as usual, or would there be a new form of tension between them?
That's a good point. That's something to explore. All right, so I've already talked about my story too much, and we are at 1 hour and 30 minutes.
All right, cool.
So let's go ahead and talk about the community's submitted stories.
Which, honestly, I think y'all need to stop, because I can't read all these good stories. Like if I read too many good stories, I feel myself as an artist am going to get more and more depressed because I'm just not that good. I can't touch the glory.
You guys are really good, and it is a point of internal contention. But that just means that we have to get better. That means we have to view this as a challenge, Jarvis. We have to up our game to match our listeners.
I will say this much: my personal task for myself is to do a lot more comedy.
Okay. That seems to kind of out of nowhere, but okay.
Well, no, because that's how I think I can get better, and I think through that bettering of ourselves, maybe one day, hopefully, we can have a story as good as a lot of people's that submitted, including Wildbow, whose story was fantastic.
Yeah, the stories that we're going to read this week are by One Cosmic Star, who is, I think, a new listener. I think they started writing with us last week, so it's really cool that they got rolled this early. Kippos 21, Generous Nat, Shin 7, and of course Wildbow. So we're going to talk about them, probably not in that order. But we're going to talk about them all. And of course, we'll give a shout out to everyone who wrote, because god damn it, there were so many good stories. Like, I want to talk about Moradinamails. I want to talk about Ghost Pac-Man 4s. I want to talk about No Goodbyes. I want to talk about everyone's story.
But the sad thing is we only have so many mouths.
We only have so many mouths. We run out of mouths.
Yep.
Run out of teeth, you know? So let me load up all the stories.
Honestly, I feel that it's kind of stupid as humans that we run out of teeth. Mm-hmm. Like, you would think evolution would help us just to keep growing teeth back.
Right. Why do sharks have that? It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's totally unfair.
I don't want some of those.
All of the following stories are we're going to talk about them, and we're going to spoil them. We're going to spoil them all. So please go in and read them. Because they're all worth reading without getting spoiled. So just pause this podcast, go and read them, and then come listen to our commentary on them. We'll wait.
Yep, we're waiting. Have you read them yet? Yeah, that one was a good one too. I really like that one.
And we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Speaking of, let's go.
Yeah. So the title of the story is The Machine.
The Machine by Kippos 21. So, this has a kind of an alt reality sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, vaguely. It's not like this isn't important. A scientist researcher who's very different from a colleague. Basically, this older colleague has gone crazy mad scientist and died, and this character goes through their notes and discovers these kind of insane scrawled notes to build a machine. And the last pages of the notes are soaked in blood, which is a good indication that this isn't gonna go well.
Yeah.
And it escalates as they go and purchase some pig's blood, no questions asked, from a butcher, until finally they activate the machine with some of their own blood, and basically go mad upon seeing it or whatever it creates. And so Kippos talks about how they were going towards a Lovecraftian, something beyond comprehension kind of idea.
Which definitely was apparent as you read it, that it was this like otherworldly feel to the way that it kind of flowed out.
Yeah, so what are your feelings on the story, Jarvis?
Honestly, I really, really liked it. I like how much time they took to set up the ambiance and just a lot of the world, or just the flow that some things have. I also love how they describe this machine and how it folds into a box and is done very well. I think the pros are like on point. So
yeah, if I were to give a critique here, it'd be a little vague of what happens and what it looks like. I feel the Kippos talks about how they want it to be, an incomprehensible thing, which is a absolutely valid goal to reach. I think it would have been well balanced by describing exactly what the machine looks like before it's activated.
Yeah.
And then we ground us in a reality before we go into a weird,
because I feel
mind-bending, flesh-shaping direction.
Exactly, because I feel that you can definitely write something that's incomprehensible, but you have to write it in a way that the audience will comprehend it.
Sure,
if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's this very weird middle ground. I mean, he was they were talking about Lovecraft, and that's exactly what Lovecraft did in a lot of his things. Like, he tried his best to describe these otherworldly creatures without giving you everything, because the whole point is that it's fear of the unknown, that there are things beyond that are hard to grasp onto. Yeah. And I feel that this story was definitely heading in that direction. Yeah, I mean, I feel that, for me, that's honestly the biggest drawback, is it's, as you said, a little bit too vague at points. I feel that it's sometimes lost a little bit in the figurative language, and there isn't a lot of things that are concrete and grounding me. But overall, it's a fantastic read.
Yeah, and I especially love the entire journal entry up to there, describing the kind of depth and the madness that I always enjoy that, and I really enjoyed it here too. So next story we're going to talk about is the story. Let's talk about Shin 7's, which is called "Jailed by Love."
I'll go ahead and summarize this.
Sure, go ahead.
So basically, it's a good old-fashioned jailbird story, right?
Okay.
Someone is in jail, sad and all that, and then their girlfriend or ex is going to visit him 3 weeks after he's been there for so long, and basically the back and forth is him blaming her for him being in there, and him talking about other information about the person's car that they broke into, and then all this jazz. But it's her saying that he needs her and that she didn't trick him, and then all that jazz.
She's extremely manipulative.
Extremely.
Yeah, yes. We get the picture of
and
that.
And I think that's probably why I like it the most, because the dialogue is really good. All of it feels very natural, and the two characters talk very differently than each other, so it's very easy to keep along with as you're reading it. And it's really great job just filling out the characters, why they are there, and how they feel about each other. And I feel, especially from the main character, and how throughout the dialogue you can tell that there is still something there. Or it's something that is fleeting or has almost died for the other person.
Yeah, what's interesting, what I liked on the character journey here is that the main character, Percy, he knows he's been manipulative. He knows, it feels like someone's shaking him out of it and been hey, look, your girlfriend is clearly manipulating you and abusive, and you ended up in jail because of her.
Well, it was Victor that helped him do that.
But he goes into this conversation expecting this to be the final confrontation, and she is so in control of it. He gets really disheartened through it. He's like, oh, she already prepared, and he feels like he's losing. And by the end, he does feel like she ends saying, "You need me," and it kind of feels like he's leaning that direction where he doesn't want it to be that way, but he does feel that way, and that's really messed up. And so I thought it was really good. Shin 7 made me feel... Was it Shin 7? Yes, Shin 7 that made me feel really bad about this.
Bad, yeah. Really good. Really good.
To critique a little bit, I think... Jing's a little bit too obviously manipulative. If we could have a little bit more of make the reader feel for a moment that, oh wait, maybe Percy is overreacting a little bit.
Also, I think the thing that was missing for me was that lead-in. Because Percy started right off the back as soon as he saw her, just
we need to break up,
accusing her, right?
Yeah.
But I feel that for Jane to be as manipulative as she is, it would have been nice to see a little bit of chat. in the beginning. Just a little bit of those formal back and forths, and her trying so hard to be like, "Oh my god, I really missed you."
Or maybe like not just gaslighting, because it seems the one tactic she's employing in this of just like, no, nothing was my fault. It's all your fault. Maybe she can just like do something that seems really really nice.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, I'm really sorry. I'll bring you flowers or something like. Or, like, maybe she does bring flowers. Maybe she brings something that, like, totally sets him off guard.
Ooh,
like
a burger.
She didn't come for 3 weeks, and now she brings, my stuffed animal that I really care about.
Okay.
Or she somehow brought my dog in with her.
Wow.
Snuck my dog in past the guards just so I could see my dog.
She, brought my whole family.
Yeah.
And a steak dinner. Wow. She really cares.
Or something like that. Anyway, so let's move on to the next story, this one was wonderful. I really enjoyed the story, and I want to see more. Some more horrible people.
Yes, because it's done fantastically well.
Next story is One Cosmic Stars. So this story is called Mission Failed. Although that also could just be like the first line of the story.
Yeah, it definitely could.
And it has this main character. Named Jupiter, standing above the bodies of a bunch of scientists. And we get the picture that she's here from some data that is important to her mission, but also important to her. But all the scientists have killed themselves to make sure that she can't get the data. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of really angry, really frustrated, and like promises that she will get this data despite the scientists killing themselves.
Exactly. And I think the best thing about this is, as soon as you start reading, you're immediately in.
Yeah.
Like it isn't like a long lead in talking about the universe and all that jazz. You're just bam. You're in the action.
She stood frozen over the bodies, and they're scientists, and that's what we need to know about this setting.
So I think this story definitely started in the place that it needed to. And then going through, I feel for this like main character in some sort of way.
Yeah,
of course,
she seems like she's a bad guy, but also one of the sympathetic bad guys.
Because I think the best thing is that you can tell what her motive is, what her intention, and to only do that in 10 paragraphs, that's great. That's really great work.
One little critique would be, I really wanted to know a little bit more of like why this data was important to her.
Yes.
Of like, is it something about her origin? Is it something about something else that she cares about? Is it just the mission itself is important to her? I don't know. So I would have liked to see that.
Yeah.
So really, really great story, One Cosmic Star, and I'm really glad that you started writing along with this.
Yeah.
So thanks for doing the right thing.
So next up is Generous Gnat.
Why do you always do that, Jarvis?
Because it's comical.
It's not that fun.
And this one, and this story's name is School. And basically, the whole point of this story is there's this character named Beryl. Okay. And she and these other two people are getting her ready for school. She's so excited. She's nervous. It's all those first day of school jitters. But then as the story goes on, you kind of get the sense that there is something different about Beryl. And then the twist at the end, which is a very sad twist, is that she's actually a old woman in a retirement home who has Alzheimer's and just really wants to go to school.
Yeah.
And that's what is on her mind. So it's definitely heartbreaking. I know as I read it, I was like, oh, this isn't fun.
Yeah. Taking all the excitement that Beryl feels and then like crushing it for us.
But I think one of the greatest things is that I didn't see it coming, and that's a testament to the writing. How there are things that slightly foreshadowed it. The writer kept their hand hidden until the right moment, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, something that our creative writing professor says all the time about twists is that they need to feel surprising but inevitable.
Pinkoff.
Yes. I said our for a reason. We're taking the same professor just in 2 different semesters. But yeah, he said this phrase a lot, surprising but inevitable, and that's what this twist feels, is that of course we have to get crushed by this. I mean, for me, the first like clear clue that I noticed, and I know there's more before this one, but this is the one that like I really noticed, was the bus being short. and no one sitting in it. And my initial thought was that they were special ed, which would have been a different note to take, but this was far more tragic.
And then also, okay, maybe it was just my reading, but did the bus just come right back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. The bus never actually goes to school. It just goes around the block, and she doesn't remember not going to school because her memory is so bad. Yeah, which is so sad.
That was depressing when they were like, "He's not going to remember this," Jesus. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, she isn't." And then as I kept reading, I was waiting for that moment where she would not remember. And paragraphs later, it was like, bam, 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 hit right on the money. So.
Yeah, and there's more I could say about it, but gotta move on. But yeah, very, very tragic. Very well
great. Done. What I personally want is a longer story. I want more from this.
I mean, I feel like it cut off at a pretty good moment.
I mean, like, it is a good length, but I think that there is a lot of beauty you can pull out of it.
Let's move on to the next story. Really well done, generous Nat. I think now let's talk about Wild Bow, our final story of the day. Yeah, so Wild Bow, this is the second story they've submitted, and it's really well done.
It's very wet.
Of course. This is another story that can fit in the Pact universe, but I feel like this one even more so is even more independent, as it's from the perspective of a non-magic user or someone not, in the depths of the world. I don't know if it's actually set in Pact, but I feel like it could fit.
Me not have reading Pact whatsoever, I was just like, this is a really good story with some pretty cool magic.
Yeah, I mean, so if you haven't read Pact and you have been avoiding the other story to avoid spoilers, so this is a great story to read. It's called
spoiler free. I think.
So yeah, absolutely, completely spoiler free. This story is called Lump of a Thing, and it. How to summarize this? One thing about Wild Bow stories is that it feels like every part of the story is so essential, but it has a character in college who we get over the course of the beginning that she's kind of she needs a lot of help. She's emotional and stays in bed a lot and has her room is a mess and stuff.
And she's bad at school.
Yeah, and on her bed is a horrifying, disgusting, it reads like a rotted corpse in the shape of a doll.
Yeah. And also this doll is leaking constantly.
Yeah, leaking disgusting, worse than sewer liquid all over her bed. Then she goes to help and no one can see it, but the smell doesn't escape her.
Yeah, it's following her. And then she basically stays over her aunt's house, and then that's when you get a lot of the backstory of oh, she's messing up.
Yeah, she goes to her aunt, and then the doll is there also. It's sitting at the table, and everyone's treating it like her. And she goes to class, and it's sitting at a desk and gurgling, and people are treating it as if it's her talking. And it's absolutely positively horrifying.
I love it.
And the smell drives her away from it, so she can't confront it either. And she ends up homeless, and then it shows up, and it looks kind of like her, and it talks, and this disgusting corpse-like thing admonishes her for being useless, saying that her family contracted with it to replace her because she's so useless and horrible, before kissing her and disgusting slime going into her mouth, and she turns into the thing. And it's repulsive, start to finish. Every time I describe the story, I describe this as horrible, and I really did not like it. But obviously, I mean that in the best way of this made me really uncomfortable, and I'm glad that I've read it.
Which means if it did that for you, it hit on all 7 beats.
What?
It hit on all 7 beats.
What are the 7 beats?
Boop bop, boop bop bop boo, beep.
So for more thrilling Wild Bow analysis, this is the place to get it. Screw We've Got Worm, We've Got Ward, and Deep in Pact.
You got the right thing, boys.
So what I think is excellent about the story is the escalation and the recurring beats of the horrible smell and the repulsiveness of it. Yeah.
Also, it doesn't scare away from taking its time. I think that's why I like it so much. It lets itself hang in certain places and not always plot. And I think that's, of course, why Wild Bow is such a successful author that he is. It's those skills. It's that craft.
Yeah, especially since this was done in 30-ish minutes, right?
Yeah, which... if I can ever do that.
Yeah, a well-plotted story start to finish. One theme here is that, so it's a doppelganger story, doppelganger horror, where it's like you're being replaced, right? And of course the horror is that no one believes her. And of course this is a limited story, but I would have liked to see more pushing of that, of like her going to someone. I mean, she goes to the RA at the beginning, but she doesn't go to almost anyone else after.
Yeah. Well, also, there was a point made that she doesn't have any friends.
Yeah. But she could go to I mean, that's exactly the point, that she could go to a professor or...
Also her roommates.
She might not have a roommate.
If this is college.
She might not have a roommate. Or maybe she does. I think she does have a roommate. Yeah, talking to someone and being like, well,
do you see this?
Or... like, and they hang out with the gurgling doll and they like it more, right?
That'd
right?
be awesome.
Like, explaining why... like, I don't know, but like... sometimes you're very nice and sometimes you're not, right? And when it's implying that when they're very nice, it's the doll. I don't know. Something that I would have like drawn out more is the, or maybe it's something that I didn't notice because I wasn't, recently I as I've mentioned, I'm a little out of touch with my emotions, right? Mm-hmm. You know how it is, everyone. But some of the the self-hatred stuff wasn't as obvious to me, and it was when I was like looking for specific beats that like I could notice it, but I didn't feel it at the time. So maybe it's just me, but like some of the stuff like her feeling useless and feeling like she needs help all the time, it seemed mostly external and like other people telling it without me
saying it, yeah.
Right, without me noticing that, oh yeah, Morgan just like can't get out most of the time, right?
Well, I mean, on that idea, I found it a little bit difficult to actually take the self-hate route because there's this beautiful middle ground that you have to find between it being too subtle and it being too much. If it's too much, then it's a horrible read.
Right. It's
then
not
just
fun
like,
to hear
bam,
a character
bam,
hating
bam.
themselves. Yeah.
We get it.
Yeah.
We get it. But if
we get
it's
it,
not,
you suck. We get it.
Yeah, but if it's not enough, then that's leaving a little bit too much to the imagination. So find that middle ground is a little difficult. And I think the idea of having it come from a external point of view is acting to get to that middle ground in a sense.
Sure. Yeah. I wonder if this was written in first person, how the self-hatred might come out a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, definitely, probably. But then I also feel if it was written in first person, I feel it would be a lot more difficult to with that scene where the doll is gurgling and the other people are understanding from if it was her point of view, that scene would probably play out a lot differently in a sense. So I don't know.
Okay,
let's mix up.
Yeah, this is an amazing read, and it reads like really any one of the amazing Wild Boat interludes that we all yearn for. Yeah. So I would say please go and read it. And I can't wait to read more of these, especially the ones that like get away from the main universes that Wild Boat writes in, because there's not a lot of that content out there. So I just want to see him experiment. So that's my request, Wild Bow. Keep experimenting. Do weird
more.
Stuff.
Work harder for our enjoyment.
That's not what I meant. Okay. But yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah. So
made my day.
It ruined my day.
Well,
but that's what it's supposed to do.
Exactly. You have to be ruined. You have to be made.
Moral of the story. Don't give in to the self-pitying and horror. And
also, if you see a leaking doll on your bed, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
Well, really, what could she do?
Leave.
She did leave, and then she was homeless, and then she got turned into.
Or
it stole her. It was stealing her essence, basically.
Or instead of that, you go down to the county, change your name, get all new dates, all that jazz, and move to Norway.
I don't know how effective that would be. I think she would have gotten turned into a doll anyway. I think probably the solution, in the story would have been to like get better and take your life back, face the horrible smell, and be a stronger person.
Yeah, because if she just ripped a doll in half, would that solve the issue?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I mean, it might help, but I don't think it would solve it.
You keep killing the doll.
So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
So thank you, and please write again, everyone. So many amazing stories every single time.
I think it's safe to say too many amazing stories.
Too many amazing stories. Please, everyone, stop writing.
Yeah.
Everyone just stop listening, and we can all go home and just rest, you know?
Yeah, sleep is great.
Yeah, oh boy.
We don't do that over here.
No, we don't.
The right thing boys are tired.
All right, so if you want to be like all the amazing people that submitted this week, let's give the shout outs, Jarvis. So if you want to be like Cow Subalu V2,
or Kippos21,
Nipiton,
Ace of Sword,
Wildbow,
Captain Rhino.
Okay, you've blown up the microphone. No Goodbye,
Shin7,
One Cosmic Star,
Delete,
which was Stuck in Red Factory.
Stuck in Red
Which is really funny. I would recommend it. More Dinamails.
Generous Gnat,
Sarah Penguin.
Ghost Pac-Man 4. I can't. There's a crack.
World Editor. Although I think it's Waller Editor.
The World Editor. Thank you so much for everyone that submitted.
Wish I could talk about so many more.
Yeah, honestly though, I wish there was some possibility to like make this longer without making it longer, just so that we can talk about all the stories.
Maybe one day we'll have an extended cut. Normally we do an idea corner, but we've already spent so much time and it feels unfair.
Yeah. So I mean, we do have ideas, and if you want to know more about them, you can honestly hit us up personally on our email.
Yeah, send us an email asking, hey, what's the coolest idea you have? I want to steal it, and I will send you my best idea. I will.
Honestly, if you want to take ideas, I will hand them off.
I mean, I don't want to write my ideas. I want to read my ideas, but no one's writing my ideas, so I have to be the one to write the idea.
Okay.
I would rather read my book than write my book.
Oh, so you would rather be poor?
Sure. If I'm reading my book, I'm fine with being poor.
Honestly, that means you're a true artist.
Okay. So if you want to be like all the wonderful people that submitted, you can go to /r/do-the-right-thing and leave a story in the thread for the most recent words, which we're going to announce at the end of the podcast.
Exactly. And on that topic, if you want to know what the words are as soon as possible, the best way to do that is to honestly go on Twitter, follow us there, and it's at @RightThingCast.
Yeah, that's our Twitter. You can also send us an email if you don't have a Reddit account or just want to tell us something, which is rightthingcast@gmail.com.
Exactly. And if you want to support your favorite people, please donate maybe $1, maybe a little bit more, to the Doof Network Patreon.
Doof Media.
Doof Media Patreon.
Right, it's media because eventually we'll do other stuff than just podcasts.
Okay. Okay. Well, wouldn't network also work?
I think the implication is podcast network.
Okay, I see that.
Because it's like networks, they have to be a specific. I guess it could be Doof Media Network. Yeah.
But either way,
we're going to do a TV series, Doof TV series. That's in the works. It's in the pipeline. It's got a couple decades. It'll come out eventually.
Yeah.
It's on hiatus or something. A Doof movie and documentary.
Are you being serious right
now? And a Doof just live band. We're gonna form a band.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's a secret Patreon goal. So
yeah,
if you want to find out what the Patreon goal is to have a Doof live performance coming to a city near you, please donate $1 a month or whatever else you can afford.
And also, if you do donate, you'll get access to our exclusive Discord.
The Discord's really good, actually.
It is very.
I would highly recommend it. Although saying that, I think like 90% of our listeners are in the Discord. So.
Yeah, but it's still good to plug. And by doing that, thankfully, you will get a slightly higher chance of your story getting picked. Mm-hmm. Thanks to our expertisely crafted algorithm that we use to actually pick the stories.
It's actually pretty good.
And then also the best part about it is that you will have a direct line to us, so we can talk to you about the story, all that jazz, and also talk to all of the beautiful, wonderful, and amazing people that are a part of Doof Network.
Also, you might want to donate to Wild Will's Patreon, because otherwise we probably wouldn't have had a short story here, because he'd be too busy having to feed himself.
And he needs to eat too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Contrary to popular belief.
Yeah, yep. Because he's not just a writing machine, right? Yeah. He also needs fuel. And fuel's expensive, so...
Fuel is very expensive. And he's not running on diesel. No. He's running on premium A grade.
Diamond fuel.
Diamond.
They squeeze the diamonds and juice comes out. And that's what he drinks.
He just drinks diamond water.
And it comes out of his pen.
Oh.
So what else is going on the Doof Media Network right now? I really have no idea. So you know what's one I haven't plugged in a while? What to say? An OC podcast. It's not an extremely well-known podcast on the network, but it is severely underrated. Scott and Elise daily have a wonderful time. They talk about the TV series, the OC, and I save those episodes when I need to pick me up. So I usually listen to them at work when it's like, this sucks, and also I can't pay attention to high-level literary analysis right now. So I listen to high-level television analysis, and what's interesting is that it's a drama TV series, so there's a lot of opinions to be had. So I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, definitely. And another plug that has nothing to do with Doof whatsoever.
Oh, great.
Please, if you can, everyone watch Barry.
What's that?
It's a fantastic show on HBO. It's starring Bill Hader, and it's basically about this hitman that wants out of the game because he has decided that he wants to be an actor.
Okay.
It's a fantastic show. It's funny.
Fun premise.
It is dramatic. I will say it's probably one of the best shows that I've ever seen, but that's only because it hits on a lot of things that I enjoy out of a show, and I think that more people should watch it so we can get a third season. So please watch Barry if you have the time, and if you have HBO Go.
Okay.
I love how I plugged a show that millions of people watch.
So with that, let's find out the words for next week.
Yeah, which the words for next week? If someone would give me someone that's hopefully sitting right next to me could give me a drum roll.
Why are you looking at me?
Okay. Well, the words for next week are sneaky, stranger, stick, and thoughtful.
All right. I don't really have to explain these too much, but let's run them one more time. So sneaky, as in being like quiet and stealthy.
Stranger, as in someone that you don't know.
Or as in like something that is stranger than truth.
Yeah.
Stick. So a stick being, like a branch, or to stick it to someone, or to stick it in someone, is also like a sword.
Yeah.
Would work.
And then thoughtful is being full of thoughts.
Yep.
Wisdom.
All right.
Pondering.
So what story are you going to write next week, Jarvis?
Next week, I'm going to write a story about a sneaky spy. A spy that's kind of similar to Sly Cooper, right?
Okay.
And he meets a stranger, this fox cop person. And basically this cop is after the spy throughout multiple places and destinations, and she's always trying to stick it to him, even though he actually fancies her. But the issue is that he's too thoughtful. He thinks about the position that they are in, this constant cat and mouse game, and how he can never truly be with her because he is the mouse.
So mine's gonna be about this very thoughtful character goes on a long journey, sneaking around, being sneaky around a town and seeing a lot of things happening, but there's a lot of difficulties that this character has because they're actually a stick. But I know what you're thinking, but there have been stranger things.
Yes, there has.
It was the strangest thing.
What?
When people listen to this podcast and then go out and they
do the right thing. I saw where you were going.
It wasn't good though.
Wow. I mean, I feel the setup.